You know, every once in a while someone asks me if I could tell a story from the far past. The problem is I don't remember what I had for lunch today. But somebody actually, who is a very, very dear friend of mine, asked me if I would retell a story that goes back to the very early days of my story hour career. Many years ago, I used to be a disaster service volunteer with the American Red Cross before I learned that they're actually an organized crime outfit. That's another story for another day. One of my duties was on Friday nights. I would get together with a team of volunteers and we would quite literally just drive around Philadelphia looking for disasters. Now you're laughing. Philadelphia is one big disaster. You cannot drive 50 feet without encountering a disaster. So that's what we did. We would drive around and sure enough, there'd be a fire, a building collapse, a flood, a famine, who knows what. And we would respond to it. What is our job? What is the job of the Red Cross volunteer? Not the Red Cross, their job is to suck money out of you, but the job of the Red Cross volunteer is to comfort those who have lost everything and to try to give them the strength that it takes to carry on. My team and I were driving through Philadelphia. Now, some of you may remember a way back in Philadelphia, when Amphicon was there, when we had the Philadelphia Search and Rescue as our charities. Anybody remember that? Some of you old people do. The captain of my team at the time was Mark Hopkins, the very man who is in charge of Philadelphia Search and Rescue that you met then. So Mark is an old friend of mine. We were driving along. I was in the passenger seat of the van. He was in the driver's seat. And we heard on our scanner a 911 call came through for a structure fire. And the address was garbled, but the neighborhood was close to where we were. This is 1990s technology. You know, structure fire, go to the Northern Liberty. I said, what? He says, it's Northern Liberties, that's where we are. Now, it's a scanner, we can't call in. And I said, well, how are we gonna find out where it is? Mark was a remarkable man. He was the disaster service volunteers' god. Mark, driving, shouted to me, hold the wheel, and climbed out the window. And I'm driving, holding the wheel, and he's going, turn left here. Wait, turn right turn. I'm like, you're dead. Wait, hang on. Left here. You made the left. Came across a fully involved row home, that's connected homes. The fire department had not yet arrived. Mark's good. So, before the fire department arrives, we do what we can. There's all sorts of people standing around outside, and we started questioning them. That house, does anyone live there? No, they said, that's a vacant home. The home next to it is vacant, but the next home along, I said to a gentleman, does anybody live in house number 3? He said, there's a lady lives there in a wheelchair. Uh-oh. Now, right now, it's not a concern because the house in the middle does not appear to have any involvement. But I filed that away. The fire department showed up and they started playing their hoses on the fire. Now at this point, no affected individuals. All we can do is kind of hang out. Do a little bit of, community outreach. Talk with the folks in the neighborhood. Make nice with them. Kind of like what we did with the city of Pittsburgh at the parade today. Now talk to me. How long have you lived here? Yes, you do know the Red Cross is here to help you out if you ever need help here. And I happened to turn at just the point in time that I witnessed for the first time in my emergency services career what is called a backdraft. The entire house just abruptly exploded in flame. An orange fireball shot out of every window, and firefighters were literally jumping off of the ladders to get away from the flames. Now, this, of course, led to great consternation amongst us and the crowd and the assembled firefighters. And I noticed that now there was smoke pouring out of the windows of the intervening house. That's a problem. So a passing firefighter was going by. I said, "Sir, there is a lady in a wheelchair in that home, according to neighbors." And he said, "Yes, got it." And he dropped what he was doing. He ran into that home. And I was waiting outside very apprehensively. And about 2 minutes went by, and then 3 minutes. And I approached the door, and by now there was smoke starting to billow out of the front door. And I couldn't see inside. If you have never been close to a house fire, it's not like you see on TV. These people don't go walking through the flames calling people's names. That smoke is hot, it is acrid, it will sear your eyes. You cannot see, you cannot breathe. And I'm standing back, my tears coming down my face, and I shouted inside, "Is everything all right in there?" And I heard the fireman saying, "You have to get out of here, you're going to burn up, I have to take you out." And I heard a woman's voice saying, No, I can't leave." And I leaned in, "Do you need help?" And he said, "Yes, grab the front of the wheelchair." And through the smoke, I saw the front of a wheelchair emerge and a woman's leg. And the other one. And I noticed that this lady was substantial. We used to call that jolly. She was the jolliest woman I'd ever met. And the fireman said, "Grab the front of the wheelchair." And I'm thinking, dude, the Red Cross doesn't pay workman's comp. Now, it is often said that disaster brings out the best in neighbors. It is true. I've been in that business. It is true. These three young Hispanic gentlemen with the face tattoos and the bandanas, and they looked like they would just as soon plunge a knife into me as to say hi, ran up on either side of me, and all four of us grabbed the front of the wheelchair. Now, the problem is there's 6 stone steps going down to the street. So we wrestled this wheelchair and this incredibly jolly woman down to the sidewalk. And she was hysterical. She was inconsolable. No, I have to go back in. And the fireman ran off. Now it's my job. I said, "Ma'am, you can't go back in. Your house is on fire. I can't let you back in there." She said, "But Elvis is in there." Oh, I got a live one tonight, don't I? I said, "Ma'am, it's okay, ma'am. Elvis is fine. I saw him in Las Vegas. He's fine. He's not in your house." And she looked at me, she said, "Elvis is my cat." Oh. Oops. I looked inside. There is black smoke pouring out of her front door. And she was crying and sobbing. She said, "You have to go get him. You have to go get him." The first rule, number one primary rule of disaster service is you never make promises. But my heart broke. This poor woman sobbing inconsolably. Her dear cat, her best friend in the world was in there. So I said, "It's okay, ma'am. I'll get your cat. The smoke was awful. It was impossible to breathe, barely possible to see. But I went into the house, choking, trying to see, my flashlight beam barely penetrating more than 3 feet. It was just like Edinburgh, as a matter of fact, and trying to see around here. And as the beam played across, I saw 2 little green glows. And I went back, and on top of this little tiny television set, there was this little black and white cat. You guys ever see Felix the Cat, the cartoon? This was the spitting image of Felix the Cat. He had the white around here and everything, and the big black eyes and the tall ears. So I went up and I said, okay, you must be Elvis. And I went up to him, I kind of picked him up, and he's like, oh, I love you, I love you. Okay, oh, yes, you're my best friend, I love you, I love you. I called out to Mark, and I said, I'm going to, and just then Elvis got scared. And he jumped out of my arms. And I thought, oh, crap. So I went back outside, and I said, okay, we're going to have to stall this lady. So we went up, and I said, ma'am, is there someone on the block who takes care of you that maybe we can take you to her house? She said, there's a lady at the end of the block who looks after me. So I said, Mark, you stay with her. I'll go and talk to the lady at the end of the block. And I ran down to the end of the block, ran up these 6 stone steps, and I knocked on the door, and the door opened, and 2 monstrous horses, also known as Great Danes, pounced on me and started washing the soot off my face. They were very happy to see me. They'd never seen another person in all their lives. Yeah, thank you, yes, thank you, 500-pound dog, thank you very much. And when I stood up and pushed the dogs off me, down the hall came a little old lady who was 1 million years old. Seriously. And I said, ma'am, your neighbor, house fire, can we bring her here? And she's trying to tell me yes and no. Of course, the dogs are excited. They're jumping on me and licking my face, and I'm trying to... I said, ma'am, can you maybe call your dogs off so we can talk? She said, oh, they're just happy to see you. I said, yes, I'm happy to see them too, but I'm drowning. I don't... help me. So she said, yes, bring her down. So we went down, and we got the jolly lady, and we wheeled her down there, and we looked at these 6 steps. And those nice Hispanic gentlemen had gone off somewhere. So Mark and I managed to wrestle this lady upstairs, and she grabbed my hand and she said, please get Elvis. All right, I'll get your cat. So we went back up, and I went back into the house. Now, you know cats. I went in about 3 feet, and here's Elvis sitting there looking at me like, what took you so long? Shall we? I'm like, oh, Elvis. And of course, she's like, oh, I love you. Yes, I love you. So I went out, and I'm holding him, and Mark was out there. He said, let me have the cat. And so I said, well, you're going to have to hold on to me. He's a little jumpy. He said, it's okay. I can hold on to cat. So I said, okay, here's the cat. Now, the lady had asked me for several things before we left the house. She had wanted her blanket. She had wanted this, and she had wanted that. So I'm going around, and I'm saying, this house could explode at any moment, and I'm trying to get a goddamn blanket. But I promised. That's why you don't promise. So I got all the stuff in my arms, and I came out, and the next home over was vacant. And I saw Mark at the cellar window going, come here. And I said, oh, tell me you didn't let him go. He said he jumped, I said, oh. So I said, here, you take this stuff to the 1 million-year-old lady. I'll get Elvis. And he said, the fire captain told me not to go down there. I said, the fire captain told you not to go down there. Now, here's the thing. This is a vacant home in a Philadelphia neighborhood. In that basement, they are known for having anything. There could be rats. There could be sewage. There could be a dead body. There could be a live body. Or there could be all of the above. But I was young and fairly stupid. So I took off my helmet, my big white helmet, I set it down, and I slithered down. I was skinnier then, a lot skinnier. I slithered down into the window, and I'm flashing the light beam around, and even this house was starting to show some haze. And I saw little green glows again, and there was Elvis. And I went and I picked him up, and he's, oh, I love you, I love you. And I said, well, you could have loved me a little bit more before, okay? And I noticed for the first time, Elvis had a little collar on. Okay. And I went out, and Mark was standing there, and he said, give me the cat. I said, no, we did that once before. I will take that. He said, no, just give me the damn cat. You need to get cleaned up once you get out of there. I said, what are you trying to tell me? And he said, oh. Okay. So I gave him the cat. And the cat loved Mark. Oh, I love you, I love you, I love you. And he started up the block, and I pulled myself out of the window and up onto the sidewalk, and I heard a scream, a blood-curdling scream. And when I turned and I looked, Elvis had decided he didn't love Mark anymore. Because what I saw was something looked like this. He's going, ow, ow, Jesus Christ, ow, stop it, ow, oh my God, help me, somebody, oh my God. And the thing is ripping him to pieces, this little wildcat, little Tasmanian devil. And he ran down to the house, kicked open the door, and said, here's a goddamn cat. I said, Mark, the dogs. But it was too late. Now, fortunately, anyone who has a cat knows that cats are exempted from the laws of gravity. Elvis, having been hurled from Mark's arms, sort of flew in an arc up onto the mantelpiece. And the dogs never knew he was there. And I went down, and Mark turned around like this. He was covered in blood. He looked like he had suffered the torment of 10,000 cuts. His t-shirt was as red as the emblem on it. His face had scratches on it. And he walked toward me and I said, Mark, he said, don't touch me. I said, let's get you cleaned up. Come on. We went over to the ambulance. And we sat him down and I took off his shirt. And I was like, dude, how many claws does a cat have? Because I think he left a few of them in you. We're pouring peroxide on him and there cleans him down. And we looked up and here comes the little million-year-old lady. Elvis is an orange cat. I looked at Mark, he looked at me, and he said, we'll paint the fucker!